Hey, everybody. This is your girl, Tony, with the Black Girl Who Reads. So welcome back to this podcast episode. This is chapter number 5, the reading aloud of chapter number 5 of the book, The Blue Castle. So like I said, I definitely want to welcome y'all to this episode. And if you're looking at this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And of course, if you're on the podcast, make sure that you, of course, go to YouTube and subscribe and see my lovely face too. So y'all, like I said, this is the Black Girl Who Reads. So let's go ahead and get into this, because I know chapter 5 is a little bit lengthy. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and get into this, y'all. So chapter number 5, the Blue Castle. Of course, she must buy the tea in Uncle Benjamin's grocery store. To buy anywhere else was unthinkable. Yet Valancy hated to go to Uncle Benjamin's store on her 29th birthday. There was no hope that he would remember it. Why? Demanded Uncle Benjamin, leering as he tied up her tea. Are young ladies like bad grammarians? Valancy, with Uncle Benjamin's will in the background of her mind, said meekly, I don't know. Why? Because, chuckled Uncle Benjamin, they can't decline matrimony. The two clerks, Joe Hammond and Claude Bertram, chuckled also, and Valancy disliked them a little more than ever. On the first day Claude Bertram had seen her in the store, she had heard him whisper to Joe, who was that? And Joe said, Valancy Sterling, one of the Deerwood old maids. Curable or incurable? Claude had asked with a snicker, evidently thinking the question was very clever. Valancy smarted anew with the sting of that old recollection. 29, Uncle Benjamin was saying. Dear me, Doss, you're dangerously near the second corner and not even thinking of getting married yet? 29, it seems impossible. Then Uncle Benjamin said an original thing. Uncle Benjamin said, how time does fly. And it does. I think it crawls, said Valancy passionately. Passion was so alien to Uncle Benjamin's conception of Valancy that he did not know what to make of her. To cover his confusion, he asked another conundrum as he tied up her beans. Cousin Stickle had remembered at the last moment that they must have beans. Beans were cheap and filling. What two ages are apt to prove illusory? Asked Uncle Benjamin, and not waiting for Valancy to give it up, he added, mirage and marriage. Mirage, M-I-R-A-G-E, is pronounced mirage, said Valancy shortly, picking up her tea and her beans. For the moment, she did not care whether Uncle Benjamin cut her out of his will or not. She walked out of his store while Uncle Benjamin stared after her with his mouth open. Then he shook his head. Poor Doss is taking it hard, he said. She's speaking up, y'all. All right. Valancy was sorry by the time she reached the next crossing. Why had she lost her patience like that? Uncle Benjamin would be annoyed and would likely tell her mother that Doss had been impertinent to me, and her mother would lecture her for a week. I've held my tongue for 20 years, said Valancy, and why couldn't I have held it once more? Yes, it was just 20, Valancy reflected, since she had first been twitted with her loveless condition. She remembered the bitter moment perfectly. She was just 9 years old, and she was standing alone on the school playground while the other little girls of her class were playing a game in which you must be chosen by a boy as his partner before you could play. Nobody had chosen Valancy. Little pale black-haired Valancy with her prim long-sleeved apron and slanted eyes. Oh, said a pretty little girl, I'm so sorry for you. You haven't got a beau. Valancy had said defiantly, as she continued to say for 20 years, I don't want a beau. But this afternoon, Valancy once and for all stopped saying that. I'm going to be honest with myself anyhow, she thought savagely. Uncle Benjamin's riddles hurt me because they are true. I do want to be married. I want a house of my own. I want a husband of my own. I want sweet little fat babies of my own. Valancy stopped suddenly, aghast at her own recklessness. She felt sure that Dr. Reverend Stalling, who passed her at that moment, read her thoughts and disapproved of them thoroughly. Valancy was afraid of Dr. Stalling, had been afraid of him ever since Sunday, 23 years before, when he had first come to St. Albans. Valancy had been too late for Sunday school that day, and she had gone into the church timidly and sat in her pew, or in their pew. No one else was in the church, nobody except the new rector, Dr. Stalling. Dr. Stalling stood up in front of the choir door, beckoned on her, and said sternly, "Little boy, come over here." Valancy had stared around her. There was no little boy. Looking around like, who was this? Like there was no one in all the huge church but herself. This strange man with the blue glasses couldn't mean her. She was not a boy. "Little boy," repeated Dr. Stalling, more sternly still, shaking his forefinger fiercely at her. "Come up here at once." Valancy arose as if hypnotized and walked up the aisle. She was too terrified to do anything else. What dreadful thing was going to happen to her? What had happened to her? Had she suddenly turned into a boy? She came to a stop in front of Dr. Stalling. Dr. Stalling shook his forefinger, such a long, knuckly forefinger, at her and said, "Little boy, take off your hat." Valancy took off her hat. She had a scrawny little pigtail hanging down her back, but Dr. Stalling was short-sighted and did not perceive it. "Little boy, go back to your seat and always take off your hat in church, remember." Valancy went back to her seat, carrying her hat like an automation. Presently, her mother came in. "Doss," said Sterling, "what do you mean by taking off your hat? Put it on instantly." Valancy put it on instantly. She was cold with fear that fearless Dr. Stalling should immediately summon her up front again. She would have to go, of course. It never occurred to her that one could disobey the rector, and the church was full of people now. Oh, what should she do if that horrible stabbing finger were shaken at her again before all these people? Valancy sat through the whole service in an agony of dread and was sick for a week afterwards. Nobody knew why. Miss Frederick again bemoaned herself on her delicate child. Dr. Stalling found out his mistake and laughed over it to Valancy, who did not laugh. Excuse me, y'all. She never got over her dread of Dr. Stalling, and now to be caught by him on the street corner thinking such things. Valancy got her John Foster book, The Magic of Wings, his latest, all about birds, said Miss Clarkson. She had almost decided that she would go home instead of going to see Dr. Trent. Her courage had failed her. She was afraid of offending Uncle James, afraid of angering her mother, afraid of facing gruff, shaggy-browed old Dr. Trent, who would probably tell her, as he has told Cousin Gladys, that her trouble was entirely imaginary and that she only had it because she liked to have it. No, she would not go. She would get a bottle of Redfern's purple pill instead. Redfern's purple pills were the standard medicine of the Sterling clan. Had they not cured second cousin Geraldine when 5 doctors had given up on her? Valancy always felt very skeptical concerning the virtues of the purple pills, but there might be something in them, and it was easier to take them than to face Dr. Trent alone. She would glance over the magazines in the reading room a few minutes and then go home. Valancy tried to read a story, but it made her furious. On every page was a picture of a heroine surrounded by adoring men. And here she was, Valancy Sterling, who could not get a solitary beau. Valancy slammed the magazine shut. She opened The Magic of Wings. Her eyes fell on the paragraph that changed her life. "Fear is the original sin," wrote John Foster. "Almost all the evil in the world has its origin in the fact that someone is afraid of something. It is a cold, slimy serpent coiling about you. It is horrible to live in fear, and it is of all things degrading." Valancy shut Magic of Wings and stood up. She would go and see Dr. Trent. Interesting chapter 5, y'all. And it sounds like Valancy, like I said before, most of her life since the 9th grade has kept her mouth shut and not spoken up for herself until now. It's starting to come about now. And like I said, I cannot wait to hear the rest of this story to see how things are going to go. And I love this quote that she put too, that she read in that book. "Fear is the original sin," wrote John Foster. "Almost all the evil in the world has its origin in the fact that someone is afraid of something. It is cold, slimy serpent coiling about you. It is horrible to live with fear, and it is of all things degrading. I can definitely attest to that, because fear and living in fear and not wanting to speak your truth is definitely degrading to yourself, not nobody else. Because that's who's going to feel the shame and the guilt and the I should have, I could have, the I would have, and all those kind of things. I know I felt bad about not being able, not speaking up. I've learned otherwise now, but like I said, definitely just by reading this book, it definitely lets me know that I wasn't alone in this. And I hope that you know that you're not alone in this either. So let me know in the comments let me know in the comments if you're speaking your truth at this time, or you're holding things in out of fear. Let me know, ladies. Like I said, don't be scared this is a safe space, so don't be scared to tell me. Like I said, I definitely want to know, because like I said, you're not by yourself if you are. I've been there as well. Just know that. And this lady in this book, Valancy, even though it's a fictional story, she's been there too. There's many other women who've been there as well. So like I said, let us know in the comments. So with that, y'all, this is Tony, the Black Girl Who Reads, and this is chapter number 5 of The Blue Castle, the book The Blue Castle. So like I said, definitely join me again for chapter number 6, and be sure to, of course, to subscribe to the podcast, The Black Girl Who Reads. And of course, if you're on YouTube, make sure that you, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is my name, Tonetta Clay. I'm the only one that's on YouTube, so make sure that you subscribe, y'all. I'll see y'all in the next chapter, the next episode. Peace out and have a good one.